Hello, everybody. Today we have Luka with us, who's an e-commerce growth consultant who's focused on the bottom line, and he'll be helping us to dive deeper into CRO topics. So Luka, thank you so much for being with us today. And let's start with questions. So number one will be, when should most Shopify stores start taking their first CRO steps?
Hey, thanks so much for having me on the show. Yeah, that's a great question. I think that there's really no such time as too early when it comes to CRO. It's kind of a force multiplier. So the better optimized your website is, your online store, the more value you'll get out of all of the channels that kind of bring people to the store, right? Your ad costs will decrease, you'll rank better in search engines and all the rest of that good stuff. People generally tend to associate CRO with A/B testing. It's way more than that. And while higher traffic websites lend themselves better to quantitative techniques like A/B testing, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that you can do to optimize a website, even if you have lower traffic levels and fewer conversions. There's user testing, preference testing, tree testing, all other sorts of qualitative validation, surveys, user interviews, and all the rest of that. And that's still way better than no data at all, right? As long as you have some feedback, you can start from day one pretty much. There's a famous saying, I can't remember who it's attributed to. It says, get out of the building. The point being, talk to your customers. And most brand owners really wait too long to do just that. And it's really simple and quite eye-opening. So I would say start as soon as you can.
All right. So what I'm getting from you here is that CRO is a lot about talking to the customer as well.
Yeah. Absolutely. Awesome. It's based on understanding your customer base, how they think about the problem that they have, that they wish to solve through your product. So whatever you sell is only a vehicle. It's not the end in itself. And that's where the jobs to be done framework kind of comes in as the foundational method for all of my client work. The primary thing that you need to establish is, how do your products as a brand or your clients' products, how do they affect end customers' lives? How do they help them make progress? Because you don't buy a car for the sake of the car. You buy it to get from point A to point B. And much like in that vein, anything else that you buy online helps you fulfill some sort of goal. And it need not be a functional goal. It can be emotional, social, and a whole host of other quote unquote jobs that we hire products to do. And so I would say that's really as far as I'm concerned, that's what CRO and e-commerce growth are all about. That's the very basic foundation, is understanding exactly what kind of progress customers want to make in their own lives and how your products can help them fulfill that purpose.
Amazing. Well, once we're talking about how complex this can be, right now, the AI tools are getting better and better. So could you explain why should store owners actually hire somebody to help with the CRO when you can just ask ChatGPT what to test and what to do?
Nice. Yeah, I love that question. And it's a very timely one, I would say, because we all know that AI is, it's not even everywhere at this point. It is a lot of, it's like both the hammer and the nail, I like to say. And it's, how do I put this? There is a lot of value to be found in primary research and proprietary data about your own customer base. People like to think that you can just take a concept from, a competitor's website or from ChatGPT or wherever else and just apply it to your website. Amazon does this, and therefore, if I do it on my store, it will result in similar results. It doesn't quite work that way, because websites might be similar in structure and format and such, but customer bases are entirely different. Your audience is not the same as someone else's, even though you might think they are. And that's why talking to your actual customers through, post-purchase surveys, email surveys, customer interviews, whole number and variety of other methods, and actually optimizing your online presence based on their specific feedback, not some generic blog post. That's where you will unlock growth and, digging into your own data, whether it be website messaging, ad messaging, email flows, or things like free shipping thresholds, discount structures and whatnot. It's only by looking into your own data with the help of a professional who's been there and done that. That's where you'll actually unlock compounding growth, not by just kind of spaghetti testing, which is a nice way of saying, just throw a bunch of test ideas against the wall and see what sticks. Even if they win, you won't know why, and you won't really learn much and be able to iterate on that further. It'll just be a couple of kind of, I guess, beginner luck is what you might call that, but it's not sustainable in the long run. And especially not if you want to end up with more money in the bank, which is what I try to focus on, is contribution margin. So not just increasing top line sales, because you can grow a brand and still end up bankrupting it, because cash flow matters. Basically it's all about that bottom line. And I feel like too many brands are chasing vanity metrics and, a kind of growth at all costs sort of mentality. And that's essentially what we need to get away from, especially in the era of skyrocketing customer acquisition costs. They're not going down anytime soon. So you really need to make sure that each dollar is working for you as hard as it can.
So coming to that, how should an Amazon seller who's very successful with his shop, with his listing, how should he adjust the product pages when moving to D2C to sort of try to maximize the conversion rates?
Right. Yeah. That another great question. So I think the primary, as a DTC or new DTC brand, the primary currency you need to build is trust. It's really all about trust, especially with the kind of level of market competition that we're seeing today. The ease of launching a new store, a new brand. It's super easy to kind of get lost in a sea of competition. And that's why I think answering that kind of question, why us, is the first and foremost thing you need to do on your store, versus Amazon, where people are essentially primed to buy already, right? They trust the brand, they trust the platform. They have all sorts of, convenient shipping solutions and this and that. And so people are basically prepared to get out their credit card. They just need to kind of, I guess, find the best solution for them, but they already are aware of both the problem they have and the set of solutions they're choosing from. Whereas on Shopify, and with your own store, with your own brand in the DTC space, the first thing you need to do is convince someone why they should even consider you in the first place. And I think that's where we see things like social proof being very important, explaining the benefits and the like I said earlier, the jobs to be done, right? How does your product where does it fit into your customer's life? Essentially, selling the brand before you sell the product, I think is the main thing. And so trust building is where it's at. Of course, social proof is one part of that, but also building authority. It really depends a lot on the vertical too. So let's say if you're selling supplements, which is, quite a booming niche, we've seen a lot of success with things like expert testimonials or pet care, where an opinion of a vet, a qualified vet, a legitimate one, not a made-up one, will often count. It will go towards kind of building that kind of trust, but also you want to have other past customers of that brand front and center, so that people who are there for the first time can actually see that, okay, this is a legitimate brand, this is not a scam. You'd be amazed at how many people still have those questions today. We kind of take it for granted that, we shop online and it's easy, but for a number of people, there are still some very real concerns that you kind of need to get over as a newcomer brand. And so I would say that's probably being very clear about what you sell, why you exist in the first place, and how you do what you do better than your competition is something to focus on the DTC product pages first and foremost.
Okay, awesome. Great tip. So basically what I wanted to ask is, can CRO help boost your bottom line as well? Or is it only about increasing the conversion rates and the top line revenue that we see? And how can we achieve that? How can we be sure that it's actually bringing profits into our pockets?
Right. Yeah, I love the fact that you focused in on that. And I would say that part of the problem with CRO is that, as the name suggests, it does focus on increasing conversion rates. That's definitely an important part of it, because without more of your visitors actually buying from you, you can hardly optimize any of the other pillars like AOV or LTV and stuff. You need to get more people through the door. So that's obviously critical, but it's far from being enough, which is why I tend to call myself an e-commerce growth consultant nowadays, rather than a CRO consultant as such, because there's so much more to unlocking e-commerce growth than just conversion rates. And I think especially in this day and age, profitability is kind of where it's at. To me, it's a bit mind-boggling that we're even talking about this in 2026. But yeah, a lot of brands still optimize for top-line revenue without taking account of the fact that, for instance, not all of their SKUs or products are equally profitable. So you'll have some products that are actually drown your performance or drag it down, shall I say. They make you more sales, but, like in fashion, there's, returns are a killer, and not in a good way. So you'll get products returned all the time, and that obviously eats away at your margins. But if you don't take that into account, or if you don't track that on a SKU level so that you know which products are actually making you money and which are not, then you're flying blind. The same goes for knowing your customers, not just in terms of their jobs to be done, but also the types of customers that buy from you. Like I worked with a brand once whose best customers were not at all who they thought they were. Essentially, we discovered through analyzing sales data that it was corporate customers who were buying from them who represented such a tiny portion of their overall customer base, but where they were worth the most because they spent huge amounts of money and they were buying for their own end customers. So B2B was a hugely valuable segment that had gone kind of underappreciated and under-recognized for years. Once you know those details, once you understand the numbers and the data, and you know exactly who your customers are and how much they're worth, and RFM segmentation is another way of doing this, recency, frequency, monetary value, you can actually begin to focus on the activities that move the needle the most. And so whereas you would have otherwise spent time and money convincing one group of customers to buy from you, you're now going to spend that time and money much more productively, right? You're going to invest less and get much more out of it because you know what you're working with, and you've done the work, you've done the research, you've done the data analysis. And so those are just some of the ways in which you can actually, boost that bottom line and make sure that you're growing profitably, not just growing, because growing at all costs will definitely at one point, it won't do you any good in the long run. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, you can easily run out of money. It can easily drag you down. Yeah,
absolutely.
Okay, amazing. What I would like to test out with you right now, I have a couple of questions with literally A/B answers, and I know it's like impossible to get it right. It's more of like a personal preference in this moment, because we can talk about options all day long, in which cases it will be A or B, but I would love to test you out with this. Are you ready?
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do this, right. Okay, so long or short product pages?
Definitely long. Do I need to give an explanation or?
Nope.
Nope.
I don't care about your explanation this time. And I'll quote you in this. Okay, social proof, above the fold or below the fold?
Both.
Okay.
I never have enough social proof.
Free shipping or a discount?
I'll go with free shipping because, better for margins. Well, all things considered.
So focus on bundle offers or single product offers? I
want to say bundles. Again, every question can be answered with it depends. And let's say bundles.
Okay, so more traffic or higher conversion rates?
This one is self-evident, but I'll still say higher conversion rate.
Of course you will.
Of course I will.
Customer reviews or expert reviews?
Oh, man. This is a toughie. But let's go with customer reviews. Yeah.
You like the UGC?
Yeah.
Me too.
All about that UGC. As long as
this was
AI.
Amazing. Unless it's AI. Yeah. You can do UGC all day long with your AI avatars. Amazing. Luka, this was really helpful for all of us. Thank you so much for taking your time, and we'll record more soon.
Thanks so much.
Bye, man.
Bye.